часть людей присутствует сейчас в конференции офлайн, и кто-то подключается к нам онлайн для того, чтобы задать вопрос Линдону Брауну, который будет сегодня с нами на связи. У нас очень интересная тема, одержимые клиентами. Мы все действительно заняты клиентским сервисом, и все этим вопросом одержимы. Для начала мы сначала включим видеозапись, чтобы сэкономить ваше время, она будет идти с переводом, а потом уже мы будем задавать Линдону вопросы. Онлайн можно их задавать вот в этом чате. Историю чата мы читаем, и он на них ответит. И кто офлайн, те, соответственно, поднимут руку, Наташа вот представит микрофон. Сейчас я хотела бы тогда включить запись уже, и после этого я представлю Линдона. Он поздоровается, и мы начнем. Lyndon, hello, can you say us? Lyndon, do you hear me?
Hello.
Отлично, Линдона слышно, супер. Тогда я сейчас представляю нашего партнера Ольгу Гусеву от компании Market Culture. Она Integrity Consult, простите, пожалуйста. Вот, она, соответственно, представит Линдона и будет помогать нам с переводом его выступления.
Коллеги и друзья, добрый день. С большой гордостью и радостью представляю вам профессора Линдона Брауна, человек, с которым мы работаем достаточно давно, профессор, ученый, человек, который создал уникальную методику оценки клиентоориентированности, уровня клиентоориентированности компаний. Это человек, который работал с Филиппом Котлером, вместе с ним писал книгу, тот самый учебник по маркетингу, одно из изданий. Он сам издал более 16 книг на тему маркетинга, клиентоориентированности, клиентского опыта. И сегодня профессор Линдон с нами. So, Lyndon, would you please welcome our audience?
Yes, hello everybody. I can't see you, but I believe that you can see me. So I'm very happy to be part of the CX camp, and I look forward to talking to you after we've had a look at the video.
Профессор Линдон приветствует всех нас. Он не может нас видеть, чтобы у нас не было эха в звуке, но тем не менее он нас прекрасно слышит и с нетерпением ждет ваших вопросов по окончании видеоролика.
You at your customer experience camp. I think customer experience and the idea of a camp is such a great way to really learn, to develop experience, to share ideas, and to understand what is really involved in building a strong customer experience and customer culture in your business. I'm very happy too to be working with Olga, who is our partner in Russia at Integra Consult, because she's got a lot of experience in terms of what you need to do and what other companies have actually done in other parts of the world. I'm very passionate about this because I know from my experience that if you can develop a strong foundation around customer culture that builds a customer experience in your business, that you will profit, you will grow your business, you will be able to take everybody with you along the journey of building customer experiences that will keep your customers. It's very important that you look at this in terms of the link between when you build your customer culture and you create those customer experiences and the profit and the revenue that flows from that. Let me give you an example. Probably this is a company that you would all have heard of. It's Vodafone, the telecommunications company that operates across Europe and Africa. Vodafone is a company that we worked with over 2 or 3 years, where prior to that they had been using, in fact still use, Net Promoter Score as the measure of their success of customer experience. And they were trying to move this particular measure, but they weren't able to do that. And so they came to us and said, look, we want to be able to do things that are going to improve our customer experience. We know that there is a connection between customer experience, Net Promoter Score, and profit, and we have done that calculation. If we can move 1 or 2 points in Net Promoter Score, we will actually build many millions of dollars in profitability. So we set about working with them and looking at ways in which they could build a strong customer-centric culture. They realised that this was the foundation of what is needed to become profitable, to grow the business, to be more innovative, agile, be able to change, but most of all, create an experience that makes their customers want to stay with them, want to be loyal, be prepared to pay the price that Vodafone needed to be able to charge for its services. So along the way, we used our customer culture assessment tool to measure where they were, and we found that there was a lot of variation in different countries, as there was in the Net Promoter Score metrics that they actually had. So we set about with them working what we call an MRI program, and from that they developed a program that they called We Care, and put that right through the whole business. There were 20 countries involved in this, and we worked with the leaders of all of those countries to build the customer culture foundation. And it helped them over 2 or 3 years create a far better customer experience. In fact, at that time they had moved to become the Net Promoter Score leader in 18 out of the 20 countries in which they operated, and it translated into several $100 million of profit. In fact, over that time they moved from a loss-making situation to a very strong, healthy profit-making situation. So we know just from that experience what the connection is between strong customer experiences based on a strong customer culture foundation and profitability. Now, why am I talking to you about this? And why are you at the CX camp? These are good questions for you to be thinking about. But let me give you several answers, I think, that are important to both of those questions. One of them is that I have worked with many leaders around the world, interviewed more than 100 over the last 2 years, and probably several hundred over the last 10. And what I've found is, even though many of these leaders are very customer-centred and feel that they have a lot of knowledge in how to build customer experiences in their business, they still want to know more. And as a result, I've been talking also to some of your colleagues in Russia, and to name 3 of them, I've spoken with Oleg Liga from Boucher, Artem Agaifov from Fabrika Ocon, and Evgeny Demin from Splat. And I found in talking with your Russian colleagues that they want to know more. They really, these people that I mentioned are very innovative, they're very good leaders of their businesses, and they're very successful. But they do want to know more, and I think this is at the heart of really trying to develop a strong customer experience, and the CX camp is all about that. The second thing is that today we are facing dramatic change. We know from the effects of social media just the sort of impact that this can have on our business. Just take Facebook as an example, but there are so many others where the impacts can be negative or they can be positive. And that's a fairly new phenomenon that is forcing us to really think about and focus on our customers. Think of commoditisation, how now a lot of our customers will find it very difficult to see the differences between products of competing companies. Also, competition is now global, and this is forcing pressure on margins, it's forcing pressure on market share and sales, and all of these things, including the changes in technology and the changes in customer expectation, are creating tremendous pressure for us to really understand our customers. And what does it mean? It means we really must retain them. We really must focus on those customers that we already have as a means of building change and agility into our company, of focusing on customers and understanding their current and future needs, and being able to build experiences that make them want to be loyal. So that's a second factor that I think is involved in this. What does this mean to you? I think what it means to you is that the foundation of your business has got to be based around a customer-centred culture. And this is something that I'm going to talk more about in a moment, but it's something that drives everything else. And these are some of the reasons why you are here, I believe, and also why I'm talking to you. I'm wanting to bring the experience that we've had in market culture over the last 10 years to Russia and to work with you and with Olga to help you build the customer experiences that now are something you must have. Perhaps a few years ago it would have been nice to have, but today it's something that is required for profitability and for growth in your business. So what is it that we're talking about? When we talk about a customer-centred culture, we're really talking about a mindset which, as leaders and as people in our business, we are wanting everybody to have in their minds of focusing on the customer and thinking about what does it mean to the customer when I do this, or when I make this change, when I change this price, when I change this service, when we introduce this new product. What does it actually mean for the customer? That's a mindset that is part of the foundation of a customer-centric culture. Now, following that, of course, is what we actually do. What are the practices that we put in place to create customer experiences that our customers will enjoy and help us to retain them over a long period of time? So a customer-centred culture is really about mindset and behaviour. And it's that actually drives everything else. But what's more important is that as part of this, we have to engage everybody in the business to develop that mindset and behaviour that is going to make customers loyal. And that's everybody. It's not only people in the sales and marketing part of your business, but it's people in the HR, the IT, the finance, all of the operations part of the business. All of those parts are vital and need to come together to develop value, to deliver it and create the experience that we want to be able to create in our business. That's a shared culture, and that's why it's the foundation of what we need to do. But where do you start? I asked this question to myself more than 10 years ago, of where can we actually start to learn about how to go about doing this, developing this customer-centred culture. What's the foundation for this? And I started at that time by talking to what I thought were leaders of the most customer-centric organisations in the world to see what they did, what were their practices. Let me give you a couple of quick examples. One of them, Amazon, we know now is customer-obsessed, as Jeff Bezos, their leader, describes it. And they have a whole series of practices, one of them correction of error, that really involves employees at all levels in not only learning about how to correct customer complaints or problems with customers, but also share them. And this is a practice that helps them share their learning, their improvements, right throughout the whole organisation. Not only do they fix the problem, as far as the customer is concerned, but they share it. Another one, Richard Branson's Virgin Group, is a great example of companies where employees are fully engaged at all levels of the organisation in building a better customer experience. And let me give you an example with their business Virgin Trains in the UK, where my colleagues and I at Market Culture worked for a number of years in helping them develop a stronger customer-centred culture. And one of the examples was of a train driver who was driving a train and he found that there was a bump in the track. Now normally you would just not worry too much about that, didn't seem to be any safety sort of problem, but he reported that bump. And now why did he do that? Because he felt that it affected the comfort of customers. And as it turned out, it was good that he did, because there were safety concerns about that part of the track of the train journey happening in the UK. Now, these are small examples, but very, very powerful ones. Howard Schultz, who has led and developed Starbucks, a company that we all know about, has really developed the link between getting feedback from employees, engaging all of them at all levels in the process of the business to develop a better customer experience, no matter where they actually were in the business. Google is another one. And probably a great example with Google was of an employee who'd only been in the business for 3 months, and in Asia they were having great difficulty in selling YouTube downloads to their customers. And the reason for that was, so this young employee who'd only been in the business 3 months reported to the board because the bandwidth was so expensive in Asia that people would not download it. When they made some changes to that whole system, they found a real take-up in that particular business, or part of their business. So these are examples of companies that we've worked with as a foundation to help us understand what it is that really makes a customer-centric culture. You will know about many other companies, and companies also that are in our database that are part of this process of strong customer culture. BlackRock, a financial services company, is part of that. You know of Lego, of IKEA, the furniture company, a retailer. There are many, many others. Apple, of course, is a very well-known example of a company that's innovative and customer-focused in what it actually does. So we went about building a database of these companies through the experiences that we had with working with them, researching what they were doing, and understanding what the best practices in customer-centric companies actually were. So out of all of this research, we developed a tool to measure and get feedback from employees about the practices in relation to customers that they engage in. And this tool, which we call the Market Responsiveness Index, or the MRI, is a tool that helps you measure where you stand against the most customer-centric companies in the world. Also with feedback from employees that provide guidelines as to what you can do to improve customer experiences. And it acts as a benchmark and as a measure that you can work with and identify priorities from to go forward in improving the customer-centric culture of your business. So this database has been built up over the last 10 years of many companies from all around the world, as well as those very highly customer-centric companies that I've mentioned. From that database, we've then moved to be able to create programs that actually help you develop customer experience in your business and strengthen your customer culture foundation. Now we are conducting a very exciting MRI research program in Russia, and this is led by Olga, where we are looking to benchmark your company against the worldwide database. And this has already begun. We have one company, Headhunter, where this is actually completed, and there are others that have signed on to be a part of this. So this is something that will enable you to make a start to work with measuring where you actually stand against the best in the world, and it becomes a way of moving forward in your business and making it tangible, making it something that everybody can actually see. We also have MRI programs inside of companies around the world that you can actually use, and Olga can lead those with you. So I'm very happy to be a part of this program and bringing it to Russia, because I can see with your attitudes and your ideals that this can be of great benefit to you. You can actually act as the lead in your company in developing this sort of process, and it's a very exciting way of bringing everybody together and on the same page or the same direction in building your company.
Окей.
Now, Lyndon, we have you online
Да,
on
у
the
нас
screen,
есть трехуровневая
and
архитектура.
the
В идеале,
audience
что
is ready to ask questions. Да, друзья, Линдон Браун с нами на прямой связи. Вы можете задать ему вопросы. Задавайте, пожалуйста, в микрофон, чтобы нас услышали онлайн-участники. Я переведу ваши вопросы для Линдона. Вы сможете услышать его живой ответ на английском, и я переведу ответ на русский язык.
Собственно, у меня вчера был вопрос, когда мы обсуждали методику МРА. По-русски задавать? По-русски задавать? Ну, давай. По-русски. Во-первых, спасибо большое Линдону за то, что он привез эту методику, разработал и привез эту методику в Россию. Это действительно возможность поработать с корпоративной культурой, потому что, до сих пор я не знаю ни одной методики, которая бы позволила работать с клиентоориентированностью и человекоориентированностью корпоративной культуры.
So Lyndon, first of all, thank you very much that you have developed this tool and you made it available in Russia, because I never seen other options or other tools to measure customer centricity, and I'm very glad we have it here now in Russia.
И я думаю, что всем участникам кемпа, которые собираются эту методику к себе каким-то образом притащить в компанию и, соответственно, использовать, очень сильно пригодятся цифры. Что я имею в виду? Во-первых, было бы хорошо, если бы Линдон на примере Водафона и, возможно, еще каких-то 2-3 компаний привел цифры, сколько человек было опрошено. Это были только топ-менеджеры или это были менеджеры среднего звена? То есть какова глубина проникновения этой методики? Вторая история, сколько экшн-поинтов было в среднем в экшн-плане, который потом был разработан после вот этой методики.
Okay. So the questions, actually, we in Russia are very interested to know the specific details and the numbers. We would like to hear the numbers from the examples you have given us. Like, for example, Vodafone. How big was the number of people who participated in MRI research? Were they only top managers of the company or other levels of management, say functional management? And how many action points have been in the customer culture development program? Lyndon, we cannot hear you. Lyndon, we cannot hear you. Lyndon, is your sound okay? We cannot hear you. You have switched off the sound. Please press the sound button.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Now, perfect.
Okay. So to answer the question with Vodafone, for example, we used the MRI with the top 3,500 leaders.
Окей, относительно компании Vodafone выборка составила 3500 человек, начиная с топ-менеджмента и, соответственно, дальше по уровням иерархии.
In addition, we worked with two of their markets where we sampled everybody in those businesses. So in Vodafone, they operate in about 22 countries, and we took 2 of those countries where we implemented the MRI with everybody in those companies.
Окей, на самом деле исследование было построено следующим образом. Vodafone присутствовал в 22 странах, и в 2 странах присутствия были опрошены абсолютно все сотрудники компании. То есть в некоторых странах была выборка, да, а в некоторых странах абсолютно каждый сотрудник.
So the results for them were very good. What we found was that when we started the MRI program in 2015, they had been making a large loss in the previous year.
На самом деле результаты коммерческие для компании были очень успешными. Когда программа была начата в 2015 году, компания находилась в достаточно крупных убытках.
That loss of nearly 4 billion British pounds in 2014 changed to a profit of nearly 2 billion pounds in 2015, which was the year that we started the MRI program. So there was a fairly quick impact of that program and a very high return on investment.
Если говорить о конкретных цифрах, в 2014 году, когда эта программа стартовала, компания находилась в убытках, и размер убытков составлял 4 миллиарда британских фунтов. В 2015 году, когда эта программа была запущена и реализована, компания была прибыль в объеме 2 миллиардов британских фунтов. Поэтому возврат на инвестиции был достаточно быстрым, но и, очевидно, очень хорошим.
The other thing that I would say about profit and profitability is that in our database we have found that a 10% increase in the MRI score is related to a 4% increase in return on investment.
И еще одна цифра, которую хотелось бы поделиться, что работая с многими компаниями по всему миру, вот, которые присутствуют в нашей базе данных, компании MRI, мы увидели, что 10% рост индекса MRI соответствует 4% повышения доходности возвратной инвестиций.
Okay, is there another question?
Елизавета, ответили на ваш вопрос? И, может быть, есть еще вопросы?
Да, спасибо большое. Даже больше, чем, в общем, я планировала, да, в
Thank you very much,
следующий вопрос.
Regarding this question, this is even more than I had expected. So let's ask you another question.
Я более чем уверена, что в Vodafone, помимо работы с корпоративной культурой, были предприняты еще какие-то действия по выходу там, из кризиса, в котором Vodafone оказался. И как предпринимались ли попытки поделить эффект от работы с корпоративной культурой и, собственно говоря, эффект от других действий, которые вытащили компанию из финансовой ямы. И, собственно, просто я сейчас микрофон отдам и больше не буду задавать, скорее всего, вопросов. Да. Еще один вопрос, если можно, такие же цифры по какой-то другой компании. Одной-двум еще. Спасибо большое.
Okay, the question is again about Vodafone. The massive change that happened to the company have probably happened not only because of changes in corporate culture, but probably there were also other actions the company have been taking to get out of this crisis. So how you differentiate the results of work that have been done with corporate culture from other measures that have been done within the company? And
that's a very good question, because culture, and particularly customer culture, only has a contribution to profit improvement. It's one of several things that affect profitability.
Да, на самом деле очень хороший вопрос и важный момент, потому что, естественно, корпоративная культура – это лишь один из факторов, которые вносят свой вклад в развитие прибыльности компании.
The way in which we have done that to identify the specific impact of stronger customer culture on profitability has been to implement the MRI at the start of the program, and then usually 9 to 12 months again after the start of the program.
И каким образом мы измеряли вот эффект именно от работы с корпоративной культурой? Мы использовали индекс МРА, мы проводили измерения до начала проекта и после, через 9-10 месяцев после запуска программы.
And the way we've then worked this out is we've looked very specifically at the particular actions that were taken by the company and measured then what the profit impacts actually were. And I will give you an example.
И что мы делали в компании? Мы смотрели разные аспекты корпоративной культуры, смотрели, какие действия компания предпринимает для того, чтобы работать с этими аспектами. И сейчас я вам приведу один пример.
We worked with another telecommunications company called Telstra in Australia, and we worked in just one business unit, which was the finance business unit.
Я приведу в качестве примера крупную телеком-компанию. Это аналог российского Ростелекома в Австралии. И что команда профессора Брауна делали? Они работали с помощью методики МРА с одним конкретным подразделением компании, с финансовым подразделением.
And we looked within the finance department at what they did that affected profitability, and then the actions that were taken to be more customer focused and what that did to profitability. And we measured this directly. We found that there was an impact on customer retention through what they actually did differently. We found that there was an effect for them on reduction of losses in various retail shops as a result of what they actually did that was customer focused.
Что было сделано в этой компании? Работали специфически вот с этим финансовым подразделением для того, чтобы понять, как изменения в корпоративной культуре влияют на финансовые результаты компании. И в частности, они выяснили, что изменения в корпоративной культуре напрямую сказались на рейтинге, проценте удержания клиентов. И второй фактор, который они выявили прямую взаимосвязь, это снижение потерь в розничных магазинах, в розничных точках.
We also looked at the cost reductions that came as a result of what they did that was more customer focused. And over a 10-month period, they generated, specifically out of this program, they generated $15 million over a 10-month period for an investment of about $1 million.
И говоря о еще один фактор, который они измеряли, это снижение затрат. И компания за период 10 месяцев заработала $15 миллионов при затратах $1 миллион на эту программу.
And of course, this improvement was not only for that 10 months, but that improvement continued over into the foreseeable future. And there's a calculation that you can do to look at the value of that continuing improvement in terms of profit. And I think when we discounted that back, it was worth, over a period of 5 years, many millions of dollars.
И на самом деле также важно понимать, что эти изменения, они не закончились после того, как закончились эти 10 месяцев, потому что те изменения, которые компания произвела в корпоративной культуре, они остались с ней, и уже после того, как программа была закончена, эти изменения в корпоративной культуре продолжают генерить прибыль для этой компании.
I hope that answers the question.
Да, Елизавета, надеюсь, ответили на вопрос. Да. Thank you very much, Lyndon. It was a very clear answer. So let's do one final question.
Mhm.
Okay.
Линдон, если возможно, привести некоторые цифры по поводу динамики NPS в компании Vodafone, то есть каково было значение этого индекса на старте проекта вашего, каким оно стало по его завершению и сколько времени, собственно, понадобилось на эту динамику. Спасибо.
Okay, this is a question also about Vodafone case. Could you please share the NPS numbers? What NPS score the company had at the beginning of the project? What NPS score at the end of the program when you worked with them? And how long did it take for this change?
Okay, I think Vodafone is a very good example because, look, I've got the actual information somewhere, not right in front of me, but the NPS numbers moved from something like an average of 6, and in the following year it moved to 11, and then I think it moved a year after that to 19. So they are very substantial increases in Net Promoter Score, and they can be measured if you link the movement in NPS to profit.
Говоря о конкретных цифрах, насколько я помню, NPS в начале проекта составлял 6, потом он вырос до 11, и потом увидели существенный рост до 19. И, соответственно, компания проводила, они знали, сколько каждый процентный пункт NPS транслируется в цифрах миллионов долларов.
I just want to make a comment about Net Promoter Score and customer satisfaction scores. And that is that these are measures that we think of as lag measures.
What do you mean by lag measures?
What we're reporting is what has actually happened.
Линдон хотел бы сделать еще один комментарий по поводу индекса NPS, что на самом деле важно, что все индексы, которые измеряют реакцию клиентов, что NPS, что индекс удовлетворенности, они всегда смотрят в прошлое, у них есть зазор по времени, потому что мы всегда смотрим то, что случилось в прошлом и как это повлияло на клиента.
Now they are very important measures to have, Net Promoter Score and customer satisfaction measures. But what is more important are what we think of as lead measures. That is, what can you work on that's going to predict an improved revenue and profit in the future.
Так что это очень важные показатели, они обязательно должны использоваться в системе измерений, но также вместе с ними важно использовать показатели, которые могут предсказать, что будет в компании в будущем, и служить основой для программы изменений, что конкретно нужно изменить для того, чтобы компания стала более клиентоориентированной.
And this is why we think that the MRI type of measure is very important, because you can look at it as a lead indicator
И в этом
as
смысле
against a lag indicator.
И в этом смысле индекс MRI другой отличается, потому что он смотрит не на следствие, а на причину того, что происходит в компании, позволяет нам работать на опережение, проектируя клиентский опыт и то, как это происходит внутри.
It becomes a predictor, more of a predictor of the direction that you are going with revenue, profitability, innovation, new product success, those sorts of performance measures that most companies use. And the indicators that measure what has happened are very useful, but what is, I think, more important really is what is going to happen. What is the direction of your business when it comes to customer intention and customer loyalty?
В этом смысле индекс MRI, по сути дела, является неким предсказателем будущего компании, потому что он измеряет то, что в компании есть сейчас, и как это повлияет на то, что будет происходить с клиентами в будущем, влияет на способность компании работать с инновациями, успех новых продуктов. Это индикатор того, в какое направление двигается компания.
So I've probably taken a little bit more time than you expect here. But I've been very, very pleased to talk with you, and I hope that everything is really going well for you today at the CX camp, and you can learn and share a lot more about building strong customer cultures and customer experiences for your customers in your business.
Лида всем нам желает сегодня успешного дня и желает учиться больше, узнавать больше. У нас есть еще один последний короткий вопрос. Okay, Lyndon, we have one last quick question, if you don't mind.
Of course.
Спасибо большое, thank you very much. У меня вопрос относительно NPS. Я узнала, что в Vodafone очень низкий уровень NPS был в начале 6%. И есть ли какой-нибудь бенчмарк или стандарт какой-то? Потому что в нашей компании Relational NPS доходит до уровня 90, а Transactional около 60. Вот хотели бы узнать, есть ли какой-нибудь максимум-минимум, чтобы мы могли точности знать, на каком уровне мы находимся.
Lyndon, this is the question from a representative of a telecom industry, and the question relates to NPS benchmark. You have mentioned the NPS numbers at Vodafone, and they seem to be very, very low. This company has a relational NPS of 90 and transactional NPS of 60. So are there any industry averages or benchmarking we can look into?
Sorry, just explain those benchmarks again that they have and the numbers.
So the question was that the numbers on Vodafone you have mentioned are surprisingly low. And the company that's the representative is sitting here in the room, she's saying that their NPS is 90 for relational NPS and 60 transactional NPS. So the question is, are there any industry level benchmarks, say for telecoms?
Are there benchmarks for telecom? Is that the question?
Yes.
Look, I think that it's interesting. You know, I came across a medical devices company that said they had an NPS of 100%.
Sorry, Lyndon, we lost you for a second. Could you please repeat that?
Yes, so do you understand that?
Could you please repeat?
Yeah, I came across a medical devices company that told me they had a net promoter score of 100% or 100.
Что да, в опыте Линдона был опыт работы с компанией, которая производила медицинские устройства, которые говорили, что их NPS составляет 100.
So I would immediately doubt the accuracy of a measure like that. And sometimes we find NPS is implemented in a very selective way by companies and does not give an accurate assessment of where they are.
И когда я вижу цифру 100, у меня возникает вопрос, каким образом было проведено исследование, насколько репрезентативной была выборка.
So I think the way to look at this is that the market, an assessment of how we stand in the market, is a little bit like a jigsaw puzzle.
И, на самом деле нужно смотреть немножко шире и смотреть на рынок как на некую мозаику, да, состоящую из кусочков.
And we need a number of different measures to fill out the picture that jigsaw puzzle actually shows.
И нет одного идеального показателя. Для того, чтобы получить объективную картину, важно использовать несколько измерителей для того, чтобы видеть реальность с разных сторон.
One measure is NPS. Another measure is the MRI benchmark. A third measure might be a financial one, like lifetime value of customers.
Ну, например, система может включать с одной стороны NPS, с другой стороны MRI, с третьей какие-то некие финансовые показатели, например, LTV.
And finally, there is a telecom company here in Australia that we have worked with that has an NPS of about 60. And I would regard them as being absolutely at the top end of customer-centric companies.
Вот, в частности, в качестве примера, в Австралии есть телеком-компания, NPS которой равен 60, и я бы назвал их примером, образцом клиентоориентированности. Ответили мы на ваш вопрос?
And they get NPS in real time. So they get it at the individual level, the team level, and the overall organisational level on a daily basis. And you can see those numbers on screens in the office.
И они действительно очень плотно работают с NPS, они его измеряют на самых разных уровнях, на индивидуальном, на уровне команд, на уровне всей компании. И у них есть специальные информационные экраны, где можно следить за тем, как движется индекс NPS в реальном режиме времени. Okay, Lyndon, thank you very much for all detailed answers.
Okay. Great pleasure.
Thank you.